days, Judy Blunt's life revolves around the kids, her students at the University of Montana, where she teaches English literature.
Brilliant writer in Montana today. What did I break away to?
She's also an accomplished writer, socializing with literary types in the polite world of academia.
Well, thank you.
But that world could not be further from the harsh prairie landscape where Judy was born. A world that inspired her family's homespun music. A world she made a clean break from 17 years ago. And she's written a book about it, Breaking Clean, which is now in its 6th printing and has become a bestseller.
It speaks to a lot of women in the West.
What does it mean, breaking clean?
Breaking clean means coming clear, breaking away from everything that I knew and starting fresh in a landscape that was totally unfamiliar.
For Judy, the familiar was the ranching community of Malta, Montana, population 2,500. She was born outside there into a family of 5 children in 1954. This is country so isolated and stuck in time that even today the buffalo still roam. When Judy was growing up on a ranch 50 miles from the nearest town, electricity and running water were new innovations.
We didn't depend upon electricity necessarily either. Most of the places, even after they had indoor plumbing, always have an outhouse up.
Life was hard. Don't let the cute little girl dresses fool you. Judy was one tough kid.
We were taught to kill rattlesnakes. I didn't anymore. By the time I left the ranch, I let them alone.
You let them alone?
Yeah, I wouldn't get off a horse to kill a rattlesnake just because I could.
She could also break a horse, drive a tractor, and hog-tie an animal as well as any of her brothers, along with helping to birth the calves and care for them as they grew. Her childhood was idyllic in some ways, difficult in others. No time in rural Montana was rougher than the winter of 1964 when the blizzard of the century hit. As tough as it was for the people, it was worse for the animals.
Cattle with parts frozen.
Like what?
Ears, tails. The bulls froze their testicles.
Many died.
It was a smell of decay for a long, long time. And I think it showed in my father. There was a sense of discouragement. There was a sense, I think, of profound loss.
It's a harsh land. It must defeat people.
They still talk about it. Some of the stories
Still talk about that blizzard?
Yeah, the 64 and 5.
That was the life Judy was raised to live in the plains of Montana, learning her lessons in a one-room schoolhouse, growing into womanhood in this isolated community, while beyond, in the rest of America, a social revolution was taking place. Young people celebrating their independence, preaching free love, women's liberation.
I always thought I would have made a marvelous flower child, but I never had the opportunity.
At 18, she married John, a rancher almost 12 years older from down the road, who appealed to her parents because his family owned a good piece of land. Judy says he was a good man. And at 20, an age when many other young women in America were already in college and discovering their freedom, Judy had the first of her 3 children and settled into the life of a ranch wife.
I cooked, I cleaned. Whenever the men came in, I was expected, and did for years, drop what I was doing to come and serve them coffee.
It was not the life a smart, ambitious little girl might have dreamed of. She had also been raised believing she'd have a stake in the land she worked so hard all her life. Then she realized that childhood dream was never to be.
What it comes down to is that I didn't have a place of my own there. The father-in-law and husband and hired men would talk during the meal about what they were doing out there. I didn't have conversations. I didn't talk. There was no place for me to be.
She poured out her thoughts on a typewriter during stolen moments while the men were out working, and made a very hard decision. She would leave everything she knew, take her children, and break free.
I was certainly trained in what it took to live here, the sort of strength that it takes to live in this country, though, is the same strength that it takes to pick up and leave it.
She moved to Missoula, enrolled in college at the age of 32, supporting herself by renovating houses and sanding floors, while at the same time raising her 3 young children. And she kept writing. Judy Blunt's journey didn't end when the book was published. She had, after all, rejected this life by leaving, and in the eyes of many, she rejected it a second time by writing about it. She broke the code that people here live by. If you're suffering, do it in silence. Now she comes back to the land she knew so well and loved so long, only for rare visits. Her feelings are mixed, happy with her new life, but nostalgic for the one she had to give up. Have you done this?
I have done this.
Randy?
Many times.
In the spring, when everything is renewed, I do miss it then. I miss having a piece of ground to stick potatoes in. I miss the smell of sage in the air. I have a good life now. You know, I survived all of what came of it, and I don't regret a day of it, really.